and welcome to this edition of Joy in Our Town. My name is Ferrell. I'm your host, and today I'm delighted to welcome Jessica Lehmann. Jessica Lehmann is the Executive Director of REACH, and our issue today is education, and our topic is literacy and homeless children. Welcome to the program, Jessica. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Ferrell. It's great to be here.
So can you tell us, first of all, what does REACH stand for, and tell us a little bit about the program?
Sure. REACH stands for Reading Enriches All Children. And a little bit about the program. We were started back in 1998 by a Virginia Beach educator. She really was seeing in her classroom there were some kids that didn't know who some of the major children's literature characters were, like Cat in the Hat. And so she did a little deep diving and found out some of these kids were living in domestic violence and or homeless shelters. And upon further research, she found out that some of them didn't have really any kind of reading programs in the shelter. So she started REACH out of her garage with some of her friends, and they started going to the Her shelter in Portsmouth. And then it's grown to, we partner with 11 shelters all around the Southampton Roads area, and actually we're expanding now. And so that's what it's grown to today.
So, and you have a couple of different programs within REACH. Can you tell us about the different programs?
Sure. We have two programs. Our major program that's been around, obviously, since we were founded is our Shelter Read Aloud program. And what we do there is we train volunteers to go in either a weekly or sometimes the shelters we go into bi-monthly, but most of them are weekly, and we go in and the volunteers read to the children, they do a dialogical reading approach where it's really not just I sit and I read to you for an hour. You know, they really engage the children in what's going to happen next, if it's their favorite story. You know, maybe they recite some of the stuff. So they really interact with them. They do a craft to support the reading activity, and then they also give them 2 new books each time that they are part of our REACH Read Aloud session.
And who pays for the books? How are you funded?
Good question. A lot of the books, both the ones that we get new and gently used, are donated. We have very generous donors. We just got a huge donation of about 645 new books from one of our partners in the community. And so it's things like that that keep us going, because really that's going to be our largest expense. And we operate on a shoestring budget. We're only 2 people, so it really helps that we get a lot of support from the community. And we get funded through corporations, individuals, grants, and we're also a United Way partner.
Now, it sounds like you really rely on volunteers. How do you recruit volunteers, and what is the training involved for volunteers?
Sure. Well, a lot of times people hear about us kind of word of mouth. A lot of times there's educators that are either retiring, have heard about us. A lot of our volunteers are past educators or current educators, because our programs are in the evening. So it really lends itself to people who work 9 to 5 and have those active day jobs. They can really be part of a reading program in the evening. We put things on different message boards in the community and different organizations that we partner with, and we also just really word of mouth is a huge part of it, and a lot of volunteer fairs that we go to.
Now, why would you say reading is so important to children's overall education?
That's a great question, because it is very important. I think we all know, reading and knowing how to read and comprehension is a huge portion of being able to really excel in school and in education. One of the things that's so important is, especially for homeless children that we're dealing with through our Shelter Read Aloud program, is a lot of these, it's consistency. It's not having books in the house. It's not being read out loud to. A lot of these encompass the issues that go along with that. So it's that consistency, it's paying attention to them, and it's really just giving them opportunity, because some of these kids have either had to leave a lot of things behind or have never even had a book to call their own. So.
When you mentioned reading aloud, can you talk about why reading aloud is so important to children?
Sure, they have to, most kids have to hear about 1,200 stories before they're really ready to take themselves to that next level of reading on their own, or being able to really identify some things. Not the same story, multiple stories, but it also factors as how many books you have in the house is hugely important. In that family time of being reading out loud together, they actually, for the first time, the American Academy of Pediatrics put out not a suggestion, but a recommendation that pediatricians, when they're in between giving shots and all these types of things, talk to the families about reading out loud, because they've identified how important it is for education, developmentally. It's hugely important. And also that family time, that connection to the family, to whether there's siblings involved, parents, it's that connection.
How can parents, how can they cultivate an interest in reading early for children?
Sure, it's very important to read early. It obviously, a lot of it comes from the parents' background. What are they interested in? If you have parents that aren't truly interested in reading, sometimes that can be a struggle, because a lot of times we take on some of our parents' interest in things, and a lot of times as parents are readers, their kids will be readers, or they won't be, and they'll try to push them towards the reading. Really, it's finding anything anybody as the whole family is interested in. Whether even if it's about a sports hero figure, maybe the dad isn't really into reading, but if he really likes a sports hero and there's a book, something that you're really interested in that's going to get you reading, because it increases your vocabulary, it increases your ability to comprehend and connect.
Those are all great suggestions. Can you talk a little bit about the difference of the educational needs for kids that are homeless versus the non-homeless children?
Yes, absolutely. There's definitely sometimes a consistency issue, and also the things that are going on. They're dealing with just being kids, and we all know what it involves being a kid, but it's also, where are they going to stay? Where are they going to eat? If it's a chronic homelessness, they might be in these shelters, which is great, and they're getting a lot of their needs met, but maybe it's a 30-day, and these shelters are really trying to transition them into permanent housing or a transitional program within their organization. So they have a lot of advocates on their side, but as a child, you're taking on that stress. It can be very chaotic, it can be hectic. You're dealing with not just your family, but multiple families in the same area. You're going to be possibly, more limited in space than maybe at one point you were used to. So it's really that education piece. Is you're not, at home, like I got to go home to a nice house family who supported me, and I'm sitting there, at our big kitchen table, being able to do my homework by myself, and that's something that these kids just don't have. And they also change schools a lot. The average amount of schools they change sometimes can be 11 schools a year. And so with that consistency not there, that really, causes that education piece to not be as important sometimes.
Are you finding that there is a certain age group that struggles more than another?
I think all the kids struggle differently. As you get older, you become more aware. So there's a more stigmatism. If you are homeless and you're older, I think you're much more aware of that. But as a young child, sometimes living in a shelter, it's very chaotic, but it's also very, you're around kids your age, so you're getting to play, you're getting to do those things maybe that you still struggle with, but at least you have that support as a child.
And the REACH program reaches all the communities in the Hampton Roads area, is that right?
We're in all the 5 major Southampton Roads area. We partner with shelters. I know a lot of times you've probably heard of, the YWCA, the Salvation Army at their Hope Village. We're with Samaritan House, Virginia Beach Community Development Corporation. We're with 4Kids, Her Shelter, Park Shelter, Geneve out in Suffolk. So we really cover those areas. But we also just started a program in July at the Avalon Center for Women and Children in Williamsburg, because we are unique in the niche that we're covering, and they didn't have, even that side of the water really don't have the services that we're offering, the consistent services that we offer.
Well, and that actually brings up another good question. How are you unique compared to other programs that are offered in this area?
We are the only one of our kind. There's, I'm sure there's some great groups that go into the shelters and read here and there, but really consistently, we are there weekly. we've had that partnership with the different shelters, and we are actively going in there. Sometimes we see the same children, depending on the type of, if they're a transitional program and they're there for 6 months, we're obviously going to have more contact with that child versus an emergency shelter where they may or may not be there the next month when the volunteers go in.
That's actually, I was going to ask about that too. Are there certain volunteers that are assigned to the children that they really get to know them as a mentor? And
we actually take a team approach where we have, let's say, you're free every first Tuesday of every month. Well, we put you on a team that goes in and reads in the shelters on that first Tuesday of every month. So you're assigned to a shelter, but not necessarily a child, because the shelter life does transition very fast at times.
Yeah, that's true. Can you talk about some success stories about children that have gone through the program that have, really benefited?
Sometimes it's hard because we are just dealing with the children, the proprietary information. Sometimes we can't follow them or track them like we would like to. But really, we always hear things. You never know where you're going to run into somebody. We actually were at a volunteer fair at Bryan Stratton College, and a lady came up to us and said, I was in a really hard time in my life. We were living in one of the shelters that partners with REACH, and my family went through the program, and we really learned how to read differently and better as a family.
Wow.
And she reads to her children every night, and if she can't read to her children, they put in a DVD and they watch the words.
Wow,
so they're
that's
still
great.
able to have that visual aid.
Yeah. So have you found any of the former homeless children or adults that have turned into volunteers or that end up helping out?
We actually did. We have a family that went through a transitional program, and luckily they through sweat equity, got a Habitat for Humanity house, and lovely people, and they came and helped us with our book sale one time, and they had been through the program. The daughter still has all of her REACH books, and she maintains a REACH library in her house now. So there are some instances, they're kind of getting to that age now that some people are coming back. And it's also some people who have dealt with shelter life, whether they've lived themselves directly impacted by it, or family members, I think, are drawn to it because they know the struggles.
And do you actually go into the schools, the public schools? I'm sure they know you exist, but what is your relationship like with the schools?
Because we only do have a staff of 2. Sometimes it can be a little bit, the program, from a programmatic standpoint, we're at capacity of what we can really handle. We would love to partner more with the schools, but one of the things that we open up our doors for is we have a Growing Readers program, which is our second program. Back in 2009, we found that a lot of people were giving us books, and gently used, gently loved books, and we said, what can we do with those? And we want to be able to redistribute them. So we have a library of thousands of books at our office, and anybody who works with at-risk or homeless children is able to come in and take as many books as they'd like, and it's free of charge. So a lot of the Title I schools, a lot of other nonprofits, a lot of individual teachers a lot of teachers put out so much money of their own, out of their own pockets, each year for their classrooms, that we're able to offer those free books and that access to books that maybe the children wouldn't normally have.
So would you say your biggest need are books or volunteers, or is it equal?
I think for any nonprofit, it's a mix of everything. We really need time, money, and books are the 3 things that we have to operate. And so anything in that capacity is grateful. We are grateful for it.
Well, Jessica, you have been a wonderful guest, and thank you so much for telling us about your program. And if somebody is interested in reaching you, how can they get in touch with you?
They can give us a call at our office. I think it's 627-4722, or they can always look us up online at reachreads.org.
Well, thank you so much. We've been talking to Jessica Lehmann, the Executive Director of REACH. I'm Ferrell. Tata, thank you so much for joining us today on Joy in Our Town. Hello and welcome to this edition of Joy in Our Town. I'm your host, Ferrell Tata, and today I'd love to welcome Antwain Britt. Antwain is a professional fighter, and he is a part owner of Olympus fitness. And our issue today is public safety, and we're going to be talking about self-defense. Antwain, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome to the program. So, tell me a little bit about yourself. You're a professional fighter with the MMA?
Yes, I'm a professional MMA fighter. I've been fighting for about 7 years, going on 8 years now. I got into it because I was like way out of shape. I went to high school. I was always an athlete in high school, and I went off to college and left college and really just kind of left all physical activity behind. I got up to about 320 pounds. So, I had a friend who did it. He said, you need to try this gym. MMA is great. And so I went and tried it with the hope that I can, lose a couple pounds. And with my wrestling background, and I caught on pretty fast, kind of being a natural athlete. And 5 months later, and about 50 pounds lighter, I had my first amateur fight. Went 5-0 as an amateur. And the rest is history. Went pro, and here we are.
All right, now what is MMA?
MMA stands for Mixed Martial Arts. It's a combination of every martial arts discipline you can think of. You have wrestling, boxing, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Taekwondo, and you're allowed to do all of those things in an MMA fight. So it makes for some very exciting fights.
And what is your biggest win?
I think my biggest win, well, I have two really good ones, and I want to mention this first one because it was awesome, so I'm just going to talk about it. It was my birthday, and I was fighting in Ohio. And the guy I was fighting was a UFC guy, really, high-ranking guy. And, I was a underdog, about 100-point underdog. So kind of an intimidating situation to go into. And we come out, and I throw a jab cross combo, and I catch him, and I knock him out in 8 seconds.
Oh my goodness.
That was the greatest birthday present ever.
That's a good one.
Because, I went in there, got out, and I was like, man, not a scratch on me. I feel great. I'm going to go have some cookies now, and we're good.
I deserve that.
So, and that was a great experience. And then I fought for the Strike Force organization, which was at one time one of the biggest MMA organizations around, and I fought for a #1 contendership fight for a title. Unfortunately, I didn't win that fight, but it was a great fight. Two guys, both of us weigh 205 pounds, and we're throwing, heavy leather kicks and knees and elbows. So, you can't win them all, but it was a great experience. And, I've had a great career. I've really, really enjoyed it.
Now, you transitioned from being a professional fighter to helping people with self-defense. First of all, how did you transition to that, and what kind of things do we need to know about defending ourselves?
Well, starting out with MMA, again, you learn a lot of martial arts techniques. So, I was born and raised here. So I found I thought it was very important to make sure that I was able to share knowledge of what I learned with the people around me. And why I started off on a very small scale, just going into the gym, having a small group of women, showing them some basic self-defense techniques, making sure they were able to defend themselves should they ever have to. And it just kind of grew so quickly that I needed more of an outlet. I needed more of an entity in order to give that message to the people of Hampton Roads that, self-defense is important. It's important for every demographic, not just women, not just younger women, but men, children, and, everyone across the board. So I started this nonprofit organization focusing on women's self-defense and women's empowerment, and it's just grown like wildfire over the past 4 years, and I'm very happy with it.
That's fantastic. So how important is it that we are properly trained?
Oh, it's very important. It's just like anything else with any job you have, anything that you're passionate about. The more tools you have in your belt, the better you're going to be at that certain thing. So to be able to have these techniques, it gives you like an air of confidence. Walking back with your shoulders back, your head high. Those things come from having knowledge and having confidence that you are good at defending yourself. You know what to do should you ever find yourself in a stressful situation. And that's the first deterrent of any would-be attacker is confidence. Being able to spot someone who's strong is a huge deterrent.
Well, the people that actually have signed up for the self-defense, are they typically people that had experience with a former violent attack, or what kind of people sign up?
It's about 50-50. We have women who seek out these seminars because unfortunately they have been in some sort of violent or domestic violence situation, and they never want to go through something like that again. So they want to give themselves every opportunity to know what they need to know so they prevent that. And then you have women who know the importance, have never been in that type of situation, but stats say that 1 in 4 women in their lifetime will be the victim of some sort of physical or domestic violence situation. So a lot of women now we're finding are being proactive and coming to us and saying, I feel like it's important that I know these techniques, so what do I need to do? What can you show me? So.
And as far as the attackers, are there statistics to say a typical age range, or like who's attacking?
Well, unfortunately, the attackers, they span anywhere from 15 years of age all the way up to 60 years of age. So there's no specific demographic for an attacker. But what we do know is that attackers are not trained. You're not going to find a trained martial artist or a trained fighter attacking people out on the street. It's usually people who are looking for, who want to get in and out of a situation themselves without getting hurt, get what they can get, and leave the situation. So the better chance that you have in showing that you have some sort of dominance, some sort of confidence, that's going to deter a lot of attackers from even pulling the trigger and attacking you in that situation.
Well, Antwain, that's actually a great segue, that the people that actually are doing the attacking are not really trained. And so we're going to take a break, and when we come back, will you give us a few tips and show us some techniques that we can use to be prepared?
Of course.
All right.
Let's do it.
So I've been talking to Antwain, Britt, and we're going to take a break, and when we come back, Antwain is going to show us some techniques where we can be ready for anyone that tries to attack us. We'll be right back. This is Joy in Our Town. I'm Ann Ferrell Tata. Welcome back to Joy in Our Town. I'm Ann Ferrell Tata, your host, and I'm with Antwain Britt, and professional fighter, and he's going to give us a few tips on protecting ourselves and defending ourselves. So.
All right, you ready?
All right, I'm ready.
Let's do it. Okay. So before we get started, I want to kind of just touch on a couple of points. First of all, repetition is habit, and in learning these techniques, these are intro techniques. So you want to make sure you practice these just like anything else that you want to get good at. So if you have an opportunity to go to any facilities in the area that can teach you these things, and you can go and study and practice, that's how you're going to become good at these techniques.
It becomes like second nature.
Exactly, and that's, with anything else, the more you do it, the more you drill it, the better you get at it. Again, like we talked about putting those tools in your belt to be able to protect yourself. Secondly, everything we do here is going to be a demonstration.
Okay.
We're going to move very slowly, but in the case you find yourself in a situation, you want to make sure that everything is very deliberate, very aggressive, straight to the point, and you get the most bang out of your buck for your self-defense techniques.
Okay.
There's many facilities in the area that can help you with things like self-defense and learning certain striking techniques and certain grappling techniques in order to take yourself out of a stressful situation. The most heavily utilized techniques are, of course, going to be elbow strikes and knee strikes. All right?
Okay.
The good thing about those, and of course you have the punches and you have the open palm strikes. The good thing about elbows and knee strikes is that you're using your entire body weight to deliver the strike. And if you're being attacked by usually a bigger, more powerful threat, then you're going to need as much oomph as you can get out of those techniques. Secondly, the chances of you breaking something is minimalized by using those elbows and those knees. You got these small bones in the hand, so punching somebody is great if you find yourself being attacked, but the chances of you breaking those small bones in the hands are a lot higher. But using those elbows, virtually no injury to you. Hard knees to the groin, to the midsection can do a lot of damage. So we want to utilize those heavy techniques.
That's a great point.
All right. So, but the first technique we're going to go over is one of the most important and most popular. When I say popular, the technique that women find themselves in the most when they're being attacked by a threat. It's going to be the front choke. All right? Or so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my hands and I'm going to put them on your throat, and that's going to be your threatening situation. So this is what I want you to do, and then we'll go over and let you try it. All right. So first things first, again, everything is very deliberate. Everything is very aggressive here. First thing we need to do is make sure we clear the airway. I can't do anything if I can't breathe. So the first thing we need to do is clear the airway. The way we do that is we're going to bring our arm and we're going to go armpit deep so we can use our entire body. Again, I'm a lot bigger threat, so you doing this is not going to work for you. So I want to use my entire body, go armpit deep, and turn my body in order to create space and give my airway back. Now I can breathe. Now I bought myself a little bit of time. From here, if I practice any like gun safety or any sort of kit control, then I'm reaching for my kit. I'm reaching for pepper spray, taser, anything like that that I can grab that I have on me. If not, I'm taking this second hand right here and I'm grabbing, I'm controlling these hands. All right, so you can't choke me again. From here, again, this elbow is going to come back and make this aggressive strike, and you can rinse and repeat this as much as you need to. If you're not thinking one elbow is doing the job, you can throw multiple elbows, all right? From here, I'm grabbing the shoulder so I can throw my first knee strike. Now, when I throw my knee strike, I want to get my hips way back so I can get a lot of momentum and a lot of power with that knee, and that knee is going to go to the groin or to the midsection. Again, repeat this as many times as it takes to get the desired results, and then remove yourself from the situation. All right, run, look for help, yell, cause much attention to yourself as you can to get someone to help you out. All right, so let's try it.
Okay.
All right, so the choke is coming in here. Airway is restricted. You're bringing that arm, body, good, nice. Here, you control it. Now your airway is clear. Now you're gonna take that second hand and grab my hands. Oh. All right, now you're controlling my hands, so I can't get it back. Boom. Good elbow, and again, you can throw it as many times as you want, and then the knee comes to the groin, and I'm out for the count, and now you can run and get help. Don't stand over me and kick me and admire your work. Go and find help and get out of the situation.
So the best thing is that, as you said earlier, whoever is attacking is probably not going to be prepared for that kind of response.
Exactly, exactly. Most attackers want to get in, get where they are, be it your purse, your watch, your jewelry, or whatever, and get out of the situation without getting hurt. That's their number one goal. So you having these techniques under your belt and you being able to utilize them at any given time is a huge deterrent, and fighting back is a great way to keep yourself safe.
And practice them to commit them to muscle memory. That's a great tip.
Yes.
Antwain, thank you so much for
being
here today. This is great information. And I want to thank you for joining us today. I'm Ferrell Tata. This is Joy in Our Town. Have a great day.
This program has been sponsored by the Trinity Broadcasting Network and made possible by your telethon dollars. Your continual support can keep Joy in Our Town brought to your home every day. So write Joy in Our Town, P.O. Box A, Santa Ana, California, 92711.